Welcome to the Be More Objectivistic podcast, The Antidote to Collectivism. Our podcast was created for the curious listener who has heard the word objectivism, but is unsure what it means, where it comes from, or why it matters. You do not need a background in philosophy to listen to our podcast episodes. Every concept is explained in plain language, with practical examples drawn from history and the present day. Objectivism is, at its core, a philosophy of life. It asks, what is real? How do we know it? What is the good life? How should people live together? These questions are not dusty academic abstractions. They are the very questions that drive political movements, shape economies, and determine whether civilizations flourish or collapse. In an era of surging collectivism, government expansion, and ideological conformity, understanding objectivism has never been more urgent. Whether you are a student, a professional, an entrepreneur, or simply a citizen trying to make sense of the world, this podcast will give you a foundation, clear, logical, and grounded in reality, for thinking about freedom, morality, and the future of human civilization. Ayn Rand, the Fountainhead of Objectivism. Ayn Rand, 1905 to 1982. Novelist, philosopher, founder of Objectivism. From Petrograd to Hollywood. Elisa Zinovyevna Rosenbaum was born on February 2nd, 1905, in St. Petersburg, Russia, then called Petrograd. From her earliest childhood, she was possessed of an extraordinary intellect and an almost preternatural independence of spirit. She taught herself to read at age 6 and had resolved by 12 to become a writer. The Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 transformed her world catastrophically. Her father's pharmacy was confiscated by the state, an early, visceral lesson in the meaning of collectivism. She watched the new Soviet regime suppress not just economic freedom, but intellectual freedom, art, and the very concept of individual achievement. The best minds fled, fell silent, or were destroyed. She studied philosophy and history at Petrograd State University, where she encountered the ideas of Aristotle, Nietzsche, and Plato, and began forming the intellectual framework she would later call Objectivism. In 1926, using a distant relative as a pretext, she obtained a visa to visit the United States. She had no intention of returning. Arriving in New York, she was overwhelmed by the skyline, the physical manifestation of human ambition and reason made concrete. She made her way to Hollywood, found work as a screenwriter, and married actor Frank O'Connor in 1929. She would live in America for the rest of her life, becoming a citizen in 1931. 2.2 The novels. We the Living, 1936. Her first published novel is set in Soviet Russia and draws heavily on her own experience. It is the story of Kira Argonova, a young woman who tries to preserve her individual life and love against the totalitarian demands of the Soviet state. It is the most autobiographical of her works and the most straightforward political indictment of communism. Though not initially a commercial success in the United States, the book was illegally translated and screened as a film in Mussolini's Italy in 1942. Italian audiences, recognizing the film's anti-collectivist message, flocked to it before the fascist government banned it. Anthem, 1938. This short dystopian novella depicts a future society in which the word "I" has been abolished. The protagonist, known only as Equality 7 to 2521, rediscovers individualism, the concept of self, and ultimately the word ego, the foundation of all civilization. Anthem is the most accessible of Rand's major works and is widely assigned in high school curricula. I am. I think. I will. Ayn Rand Anthem. The Fountainhead, 1943. This novel launched Rand to international fame. Its protagonist, Howard Rourke, is an uncompromising architect who refuses to alter his vision to please clients, critics, or fashion. He stands as a literary symbol of the independent mind, the creator who will not prostitute his talent to collective mediocrity. His antagonist, Ellsworth Toohey, is one of literature's most terrifying villains. Not a brute, but an intellectual who systematically destroys greatness because greatness threatens his power over the mediocre masses. Toohey's methods, guilt, social pressure, the destruction of standards, read today as a prescient portrait of modern progressive ideology. The Fountainhead spent 84 weeks on the bestseller list and has sold over 7 million copies. It attracted a devoted readership unlike any philosophical novel before or since. Atlas Shrugged, 1957. Rand's magnum opus is the fullest statement of objectivist philosophy embedded in a sweeping dramatic narrative. Set in a near-future America slowly collapsing under the weight of collectivist regulation and the moral guilt-tripping of its productive class, it follows Dagny Taggart, a railroad executive, Hank Rearden, a steel innovator, and the mysterious John Galt, the man who has stopped the motor of the world. Galt's famous 60-page radio address is the most complete single articulation of objectivist philosophy ever written, covering metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, politics, and economics. The novel's central question, who is John Galt, became a cultural touchstone that resonates wherever free minds chafe against the demands of the collective. Atlas Shrugged has sold over 30 million copies and has never gone out of print. A 2009 Harris poll found it ranked second only to the Bible as the book most influential on Americans' lives. Entrepreneurs, scientists, artists, and statesmen continue to cite it as a turning point in their intellectual development. Do not let your fire go out. Spark by irreplaceable spark in the hopeless swamps of the not quite, the not yet, and the not at all. Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. The Nonfiction Works. Rand also produced a substantial body of nonfiction, primarily through essays published in her newsletters, the Objectivist newsletter, the Objectivist, and the Ayn Rand letter, many of which were collected into books. For the New Intellectual, 1961, an overview of Objectivism's place in intellectual history. The Virtue of Selfishness, 1964, the foundational text of Objectivist ethics. Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal, 1966, the fullest objectivist defense of free market capitalism. Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology, 1979, the most rigorous technical statement of her theory of knowledge. The Romantic Manifesto, 1969, her theory of aesthetics. Her legacy. Ayn Rand died on March 6, 1982, in New York City. She had spent her final years burdened by illness and a painful personal rupture with her closest intellectual collaborator, Nathaniel Branden. Yet her ideas refused to die with her. The Ayn Rand Institute, founded in 1985, continues to promote and develop her philosophy. Hundreds of objectivist study groups, journals, and academic programs exist worldwide. Her books sell in growing numbers with every decade, particularly in the developing world, where new generations discovering the meaning of freedom often encounter Rand first.